So how many of you HSPs are in a constant battle with FOMO? Always afraid of missing out on opportunities? Well, as HSPs, as highly sensitive people, we so often have a tendency to push ourselves beyond our limits because we're so afraid to miss out on opportunities. Does that sound like you? We tend to feel more tired and run down than non-HSPs, but we also fear that we'll be missing out on things, missing out on life. So we force our body to do things that it doesn't want to do. It's kind of like that everlasting fight between our stubborn mind and our body. And all that does is it leaves us feeling exhausted and burnt out. Our bodies end up reacting by shutting down, by having all sorts of physical symptoms like headaches and migraines. And if you're someone with a chronic illness, it can even trigger those symptoms too. Over the years, this happened to me a lot. I felt like I'd be missing out on life if I said no to opportunities. So I'd fill my body with sugar to get that energy rush to go ahead and do all the things I wanted. But even that didn't help for long. And the other thing with that is that I didn't want to let people down. So I'd make my body do things to avoid having to explain myself to others. It broke my heart so much that I preferred to avoid it. I preferred to avoid disappointing them. But the consequence of that was that it left me feeling completely burnt out. So ever since I became aware of this tendency, I started to listen to my body's needs more, and I acted more in alignment with what it needed. And it's not always been easy, but out of respect for myself and my body, it became necessary. Over the last 2 weeks especially, the universe has tested me a lot with this all over again. And sometimes it's like the universe sends you tests to make sure that your lesson has been learned. Has that ever happened to you? Well, the first one that happened for me was a couple weeks ago. I'd signed up to an online event that took place every night for a week, and the organizers were in the Pacific time zone in the States. So the event ended up finishing in the early hours of the morning here in the UK. And I'd committed to doing this. I knew that other people from the UK were joining, so I thought, well, if they can do it, so can I. So I decided to go for it and try and adjust my daytime schedule to ensure that I got enough rest. And if you attend my Monday support groups, that's why I had to cancel it that week, right? Because I had to readjust my schedule during the daytime. So soon after the event started, I realized that I'd overcommitted. I stayed on Zoom until late that first day of the event, and I'm still recovering now 2 weeks on. After the first day, I realized that my body just couldn't hack this, so I sadly didn't continue to attend. And I really, really wanted to continue. I felt like I was missing out on something that the others were all going to get and I wasn't. So it took a lot for me to set my boundary with myself. And I also knew that it may disappoint some people too. And if this had been the me from 5 years ago, I also would have worried a lot about being judged for it. Now, there are two things that I always tried really hard to avoid in the past. One was that I never wanted to disappoint people. I hated disappointing people, so I tried to avoid that. And the other one is that I hated the thought of being judged for who I am. So I try and avoid doing things that meant putting me at risk of being judged or made to feel any less that I am. Those two things would hold me back a lot from being there for myself and acting on the things that were good for me. So after the first day of that online event, I decided to listen to my body's needs instead. And My body is still suffering now, but imagine how bad it would have been if I'd pushed myself even further that week. So then the universe sent me another test a couple days ago. I'd been so looking forward to attending an event that I'd been invited to outside London, and I'd been looking forward to this for 2 weeks. I planned out the whole day of traveling there, and I was so excited about it. Then comes the morning of, and I woke up feeling drowsy. The events of that week, or of those 2 weeks, had all of a sudden caught up with me. But nevertheless, I still got up and I went to the train station. Then the guy there working at the station tells me, actually the train is cancelled from here. It's not running from here anymore. And in that moment, I didn't panic, but I stopped and I thought I need to reassess this. My only alternative options were either to drive 2.5 hours each way or to catch a different train, which was on the other side of London. So in that moment, I thought, I'm going to go home and rest and reassess this. So I went home and rested, and after a short nap I still felt drowsy, and I realized that actually I need to do what my body is telling me to do, which is you need to rest. I so badly wanted to fight it. I'd been looking forward to that day trip for so long, but my body was telling me it needed me, and I needed to respect that. This was a struggle I've experienced so much in my lifetime, and let me know if you've experienced similar things too. I personally always felt so limited in what I could do because my energy levels and my body couldn't hack doing half the things that non-HSPs could do. And I'd constantly find myself comparing myself to them. This was a really big struggle for me. I never wanted to feel like I was missing out. But my mindset around this right now is that there will always be other opportunities. And when those opportunities come and I feel like myself again, then I'll be able to enjoy them even more. And a big part of this journey has meant learning to have self-compassion for myself and finding forgiveness for myself, especially when others don't like it when I say no, and especially if it's last minute. There have been times in the past where people didn't like it so much, so they even blocked me and I never heard from them again. But these are not my people. My people are those who care enough about me to care about my well-being above what they want of me that day. They are the people who are understanding of my needs, even though they might be different to me, and even though they haven't got a single clue what it's like to be highly sensitive. These are the people who trust that my actions are not personal to them, and that when I do show up for them, I will show up with everything that I've got and with every inch of my heart. If my story is sounding a lot like yours, my advice for you today is this: be kind to yourself. Opportunities will come and go, but your body needs you right now. Your body has supported you your entire life. Return that gift. Thank it for supporting you for so long and be kind to it. It needs you. And you need it too. This is what self-compassion is made of. We as HSPs have more limitations than non-HSPs. Not everyone will understand it either. But also, I really do get how inconvenient it can feel. But here's the thing, guys, we can't wish it away. We can only work with what we've got and make our life as best as we can. And it can be an incredible life at that. So if you relate to this, drop me a little heart in the comments below, and maybe even share your story with me if you feel inclined to. And if you want to take it a step deeper, then you can book a free discovery call with me on Zoom 1-to-1 in your own time. Take care, guys, and see you soon.